So without further ado, let's take a look at 5 cool games that I've been spending some time with during the last few weeks. Let's dive in. The first game I want to talk about today is called Neon Inferno, and from the very first moment that I saw the trailer for this game months ago, I knew that I absolutely had to play it, as the really detailed pixel art looks stunning and it's got a really cool setting. It's a future cyberpunk run and gun that you can play in co-op with another player. And there's a ton of variety in terms of the gameplay. It's constantly changing things up. There are sections on the back of bikes. There are stages that take place in elevators, classic beat-em-up style, where you have waves of enemies jumping in from either side of the screen. There are more vertical laid out levels. And although the controls seem really complex to begin with, there's a good tutorial, and by the time you've done that, you'll have got a good feel for the game really, and you'll be able to pull off all the sort of manoeuvres that you need to do to survive some of these boss fights. So you can have a dodge roll, you can hold down a button and shoot into the screen, so it's like a mixture of a classic run and gun like Contra, Hardcore or something like that, and then a gallery shooter like Wild Arms. And yeah, you have to constantly adjust whether you're taking out enemies in the foreground that are going to hurt you directly, or some of the cops and big vehicles in the background that are going to shoot you from afar. There are 3 difficulty settings. So far I've beaten the game on the easiest setting, and that took about an hour and 40 minutes, so it's not a long game by any stretch of the imagination, but there are still 2 more difficulties for me to complete the game on, which I'm sure will be a much tougher challenge than easy. And then there's also arcade, which limits you to a single credit on the hardest setting, I believe. So that's the real sort of hardcore challenge for players who really get into it and want to beat it on its toughest setting. The boss fights are really well done. They usually have multiple phases. The checkpointing in the easy mode is quite fair. I wouldn't be surprised if the checkpoints are a bit more harsh for the more challenging difficulty settings, as well as you taking more damage and the enemies being harder to kill. In between each stage, you're given the opportunity to buy temporary weapon upgrades with the money that you earn from completing the stages, and the amount of money you get depends on your performance. So far I've only sort of managed a 2-star performance. It does limit you the amount of stars you can get actually depending on the difficulty setting. So yeah, you really can't earn a lot of cash for upgrades on the easy setting. And also, early in the game, you're given the choice of 2 or 3 different stages, so you can tackle the game in a slightly different order from one playthrough to the next. But that's only for the sort of first 4 or so stages, and then the late game stages play out in a linear fashion. Yeah, I'd really recommend this one if you're a fan of classic arcade games or 2D sprite-based games from the Super Nintendo or Mega Drive era. It's a really cool throwback to arcade machines of that era in the 90s. It reminds me of something like that Data East would put out, like Midnight Resistance or the RoboCop 2 arcade machine. So I really recommend you picking this one up if it looks good to you.
Begin sequence.
Next up is a brand new classic style twin-stick shooter called Sektori, developed by Kimmo Lahtinen, who previously worked for Housemarque, the studio famous for Twitch-style hits like Resogun and Nex Machina. If you're a fan of their intense arcade-style action, or similar games like Geometry Wars Retro Involved, then chances are you will love this one as well. The game starts off familiar, shooting and dodging through ever-demanding waves of enemies. Some swarm at you, others evade your shots, and others still weave around the area like angry neon snakes. Each defeated enemy drops something called Glimmer, which fills up a bar once collected. And when that bar fills up, a blue token appears somewhere on the field. Once you grab it, you can then press A to buy whichever power-up is highlighted in the top left of the screen. Some examples of this include speed boosts, a score multiplier, extra shields or missiles. Each item gets progressively more expensive as you go up the list, so you'll need to save up if you want the good stuff. It's very reminiscent of the power-up system in the Gradius series. As you progress through a stage, you'll also spot bright yellow tokens. These present you with a choice of 3 decks. Choose one and you'll unlock upgrades from that deck. For example, if you pick a missile deck, you might upgrade to fire more missiles at once, or even have missiles that target and destroy enemy bullets, potentially saving your life, or at least one of your precious shields. Between runs of campaign mode, you'll unlock more decks and can choose which ones stay active, but you must have 20 decks selected at all times. This introduces a roguelike element to the gameplay, and lets you tailor the experience, ditching the power-ups you don't like and keeping the ones you do. Players will also have to contend with a constantly shifting stage layout, sometimes giving you just a few seconds to reach a safe zone or risk instant death. From time to time you may also spot letters that slowly cycle through a word, like Mirage on easy mode or Sektori in normal mode. If you manage to collect all the letters and complete the word, you'll unleash a devastatingly powerful onslaught of rainbow death upon your enemies. It's incredibly satisfying and a spectacle to behold, especially on the OLED Steam Deck. But here's the twist: if you boost into any of these tokens with the RT button, instead of simply touching them, they'll explode and instantly reset your boost cooldown. Otherwise, you'll be stuck waiting a few seconds before you can boost again. Boosting through enemies destroys them, so this mechanic can be an absolute lifesaver if you ever find yourself surrounded. As you start doing better in the campaign mode and beating bosses, you'll gradually unlock other modes too. Classic mode strips everything back. It's got a fixed arena, no decks, just you and 1 life. This is the closest you'll get to that pure Geometry Wars experience from the Xbox 360 days. Then there's Boss Rush, which is exactly what it sounds like. And speaking of bosses, the bosses in Sektori are no joke, even on the lowest difficulty. Some of them still kick my ass every single time, with bullets everywhere and the boss itself threatening to crush you half the time. If you love this genre and have been longing for something new, Sektori will almost certainly fit the bill, plus it's launching at a nice, cheap price. Perfect for short, intense gaming sessions between bigger games. Highly recommended.
For nearly 50 years, a Mecha Man has protected Los Angeles. Built by an ordinary civilian with no superpowers. This first suit was dubbed by some fans as Mecha Man Prime. 3 generations of pilot, their identities kept secret, have given everything to protect this community, including their lives. After the tragic passing of Prime, the next Mecha Man, known as Astral, teamed up with a star-studded superhero group known as the Brave Brigade, leading to an unprecedented period of peace in the Southland. After years of loyal service, tragedy struck again, when Shroud, a former Brave Brigade member turned villain, killed the pilot of Mecha Man in cold blood. But yet again, as hope was lost, a 3rd generation of Mecha Man emerged. A Mecha Man for the modern era. a bulwark against organized crime in the greater Los Angeles area. Until today.
Now, chances are you've already heard of the third game I'm covering today, Dispatch by Adhoc Studios. My original plan was to make a dedicated review for it until it exploded in popularity on YouTube, and pretty much every gaming channel, big or small, had already covered it. That's what sparked this entire video series. I still wanted to talk about the game, but I didn't want it getting lost amongst the countless reviews and streams already out there. So I decided to cover multiple games instead. 3 prominent former Telltale games developers, who worked on things like The Wolf Among Us and Tales from the Borderlands, came together to form a new indie studio called Adhoc Studios. They originally envisioned a workplace comedy set in the world of superheroes as a live-action TV show, not a video game. But at some point they shifted to the episodic game format in that familiar Telltale style. And honestly, I think that was the right call. Starting fresh meant building a new engine instead of relying on Telltale's old creaky one, and the result is stunning animation that easily rivals something like Invincible on Amazon Prime. Dispatch puts you in the shoes of Robert Robertson, voiced by Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, as he's forced into retirement when his Mecha Man suit is destroyed in a fight with the evil Shroud and his gang. While nursing his sorrows, he unwisely picks a fight with some thieves looting an electronics store and gets the crap kicked out of him until Blonde Blazer swoops in to save the day. Soon after, she offers him a job as a dispatcher for the SDN, the Superhero Dispatch Network. This means that at least once per episode you run a minigame choosing which of about 8 heroes is best suited for a specific incident in the city. It's a fun break from the usual narrative adventure formula, and it never outstays its welcome. The only thing I didn't like is that sometimes the game forces you to fail for story reasons, but thankfully that doesn't happen often. Aaron Paul leads a fantastic cast, including Jeffrey Wright as Chase, who gives a truly standout performance. You'll recognise him from Westworld or as Felix Leiter in recent Bond films.
Holy shit, who's this freckle-faced fuck? How are you?
That's an aggressive way to greet someone.
Look at this skinny latte prick. Your bones, kid. You here to whip these assholes into shape or what?
That's the idea.
Oh, admittedly, I haven't had a hug in a while, but could you maybe not?
What? It's a hug, not a hand job. Lighten up.
Be that as it may, I'm still confused.
On top of that, voice actors from Critical Role and well-known YouTubers like Jacksepticeye and Alana Pierce fill out the roster of heroes and villains. They all deliver great performances and contribute to the game's polished presentation overall. Gameplay during the narrative sections is typical Telltale. Multiple dialogue options and usually 1 or 2 big decisions per episode that can change the direction of the story for the rest of the season. You could easily replay the whole game and get a different outcome, which is exactly what I did, and I had a lot of fun doing it. There are also quick-time events, but if you hate QTEs, you can turn them off completely, which is very nice. There are 8 episodes in this first season, and most of them take around an hour or slightly less, with the finale closer to an hour and a half. So far, there's no official word on a second season, but considering how popular this one's been, I'd say it's almost a certain. I'm really happy that this style of game has made a comeback and is doing so well. I just hope Adhoc sticks around and doesn't take on too many projects at once, which was one of the things that led to Telltale's downfall. Our penultimate game today is Kingdoms of the Dump, released just about a week ago, and so far I've only spent a couple of hours with it. But even in that short time, I can already tell this is a charming and well-written turn-based RPG, drawing inspirations from the Mario RPGs, Chrono Trigger, and more. You play as Dustin Binsley, an aspiring knight who sets off to rescue the king after they are kidnapped, or trash-picked as this game calls it. He is joined by his loyal rodent friend, Rotavia. Everything in this game takes place in a garbage dump, so you'll face enemies like sentient glass bottles or malicious fridges. The battle system uses timing-based moves. Press attack at just the right moment and you'll do extra damage. Press defend with the right timing and you'll take less. You'll also unlock special and super attacks when your boiling meter is full, each with its own timing minigame. I've only explored a couple of dungeons so far, but both have been fun to roam, full of hidden chests, items and gear upgrades. There's even a jump button, so expect some light platforming elements to discover secrets and paperclips, which act as the game's currency. The difficulty feels just about right so far. Regular enemies aren't too tough, and bosses provide a proper challenge. Combat uses a grid system, and tiles can have status effects like glass or oil. For example, I lingered on an oil tile for too long during the second boss fight, and when the boss set it on fire, Dustin melted. Thankfully, I had jumper cables to revive him with 50% HP, and with some careful use of special moves and a stash of healing items from a vending machine, I just about barely won. In terms of game length, you're looking at about 25 hours for the main quest, and another 10 or so if you go after all the side content, so not too shabby. There's no shortage of games fighting for my attention right now, but Kingdoms of the Dump is definitely one I'd like to return to over the Christmas break if I get the chance. Finally for this episode we come to Spiritfall, the oldest game I've featured here, but newly released in physical form on Nintendo Switch via Super Rare Games, so it's new to me. This is another 2D action roguelite, and there's been plenty of those recently, thanks to games like Dead Cells, The Rogue Prince of Persia, and many more besides. But this one promises something unique, a combat system inspired by Super Smash Bros. And after a few hours, yes, the similarities are very clear. Most of your attacks map directly to Smash-style equivalents, and even some of the minigames during runs feel like Smash challenge rooms. Instead of a Metroidvania map, you choose between nodes like in Slay the Spire, each one offering a different reward after you clear the room full of enemies. Maybe you'll pick a chest, or perhaps a gem, and then after you beat the enemies you open the chest for a relic or grab the gem to enhance an ability. You'll also find various elemental spirits that offer different attacks and buffs, plus there are multiple currencies to pick up. These can be spent in the hub world to unlock new weapons and new forms for those weapons, as well as permanent upgrades or even new room types such as one that will heal you for 50% of your health once per biome. Like most roguelites, the more you play, the stronger you become, and the more you master the systems. Right now it's hard to say whether I'll stick with Spiritfall for the long haul. A roguelite has to be really special to hook me completely, and only a select few have really done that so far. Hades, Astebros, and Children of Mortar. I definitely want to spend more time with this game, but whether it has that extra spark remains to be seen. And that's it, that's the first WYSP Digest. Let me know your thoughts. Do you want to see more videos like this? If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe and share with your friends. In the meantime, take care.